70 million people affected, 2 million dead, and 500,000 new cases every day. We know these numbers all too well because COVID-19 has taken a toll on our global community and every aspect of our lives. But I'm an optimist, and I strongly believe that we have the power to solve these problems and create the change that we want to see in the world. Now more than ever, the world needs young people to use innovation and imagination to create out-of-the-box solutions to real-world problems. I'm Neha Shukla, a 16-year-old serial innovator passionate about using science and technology as catalysts for social change. I'd like to share my journey of innovation with you all and insights on the innovation process to help foster the next generation of young innovators and problem solvers. This summer, I created a wearable social distancing device called 6FeetApart, which is a microprocessor-based device embedded inside a hat, which uses the latest developments in ultrasonic technology to guide social distancing according to the CDC's guidelines of a 6-foot distance. I was really inspired by the exponential growth of the COVID-19 pandemic and seeing the direct impact on my community. So let's look back for a second. COVID-19 mostly spreads through person-to-person transmission because of a lack of adequate social distancing. And it just seemed wrong to me that a person could lose their life because of a mistake of not social distancing correctly. So I wanted to set out to create a tool that would simplify and quantify social distancing, slowing the spread of the pandemic, reducing accidental viral transmission, and saving lives. So 6FeetApart has gained a lot of recognition, recognized by the NASDAQ, New York Times, ABC, and other organizations. But I want to highlight this as a point of how much the world needs young innovators to tackle big problems of today. And if I can do this, so can you. I want to inspire all of you to innovate and solve problems. And I'll share some of my top tips for innovation shortly. But before we get there, you might be wondering, how does 6FeetApart actually work? So as I mentioned, it uses the latest developments in ultrasonic technology. So essentially, it sends out short pulses of ultrasonic waves out into the environment. And these waves refract back into the device when an approaching person crosses that 6-foot detection radius. The angle and speed at which the waves refract back into the device are mathematically calculated by my custom-built software and hardware, and it alerts the users through live haptic and acoustic feedback that an approaching person is coming within that 6-foot detection range. So here is a short video of 6FeetApart in action. And as it approached the 6-foot detection range, it began beeping and vibrating, alerting the user that the 6-foot detection range has been crossed and of safe social distancing. So to further improve the accuracy of 6FeetApart, I'm working on integrating infrared imaging and artificial intelligence algorithms to better differentiate between humans and objects by using heat mapping and non-contact thermography. I've also been building a mobile app for 6FeetApart that sends these social distancing notifications from the device to your mobile phone and compiles all this information in a daily safety report, which tells you the probability of being infected by person-to-person transmission. And I'll be releasing my app to the App Store within the coming few months. So let's take a shift to innovation. Innovation is all about solving real-world problems, and I define it as the continuous process of learning, building, and failing. It's really an iterative process and not something that's linear. So going back to the drawing board when things don't work is completely okay. Iteration was definitely a big part in creating 6FeetApart. I started off with a device that was big and a bit difficult to use, but through iteration, I was able to improve the user interface and make it more compact and easier for users to navigate. I also talked to focus groups and I found out that women don't really wear hats, and also hats can't be worn indoors. So I worked on creating products that work for everyone. And now I have a portfolio of 3 devices, a hat, armband, and lanyard that are all easy to use and inclusive. The real-world insights and suggestions that I gained during these focus groups and interviews allowed me to create solutions for the people by the people. And this leads into the first tip of innovation, which is feedback. Whether you're building out prototypes of projects, writing proposals, or just starting to come up with an idea, feedback is such an essential part of the process. It allows you to examine your work with a fresh perspective and through the lens of an industry expert or just a person passionate about the subject. And in my case, feedback from both industry experts and focus groups helped me expand 6 Feet Apart's portfolio of devices so social distancing can be more accessible to more people. And you can never get enough feedback. It's so valuable at every stage of the process. So you can help understand the problem better and also figure out if the research is validating or refuting your original idea. The second major tip for innovation is mentorship. I couldn't be where I am today without the support of mentors who inspire me, who I learn from, and who I'll always continue to learn from. My mentors have inspired me to follow my passions, introduced me to key industry experts in deep tech and entrepreneurship sectors, and just believed in me and continued to support me when I was doing difficult things. So I encourage each and every one of you to find a mentor in areas that you're passionate about and see how they'll guide you along this process. And conversely, if you're in a position to be a mentor, seek mentees to work under your guidance and enable them to innovate and follow their passions. I can guarantee you that finding a mentor will change your trajectory and enable you to solve problems in the world. And by supporting young innovators, you're creating an ecosystem of innovation that will create lasting change for future generations. The last major tip for innovation is impact. This is the most important thing to consider before building a project. It's really important to think about the feasibility of you creating the solution and also the people you'll be helping. For me, I knew that I needed to create a solution and save lives during the pandemic. And this was a problem that I needed to solve. And in terms of the feasibility, you don't need to know every skill to create something. In creating 6 Feet Apart, I didn't know everything that was required in the beginning. But innovation is all about learning and iterating. So I learned so many skills along the way, and I continue to learn and grow in this process. So the most important thing to consider is impact. For me, I have the possibility of saving millions of lives with my device, but the possibilities are truly endless. So I encourage all of you to think about problems that keep you up at night. What problems do you feel the need to solve? And look at these problems, and the skills to create a solution can just be learned along the way. I'd like to end off by circling back. We are in a world where there are new problems emerging that we have never seen before. But instead of seeing them as static problems, we should see them as opportunities to make an impact. We can now leverage tools like emerging technologies and sciences to solve real problems in the world. We're seeing problems like climate change, food and water scarcity, public health, and cyber attacks, but also new technologies like artificial intelligence, gene editing, and quantum computing as tools to solve these problems. So I encourage all of you to look for problems in the world that you're passionate about and innovate and create solutions. Because what we need most of all right now is a generation of innovators creating change. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Samson, organizer of TKS Community Talks. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to check out our channel for more insightful and inspiring talks from a community of young people training to change the world.